It's interesting because motivation really plays into it. You know, if you've been unmotivated in your job for a long time and you've tried to change, that's what I tried to do. I tried to change. I started in accounting, went to management consulting, went to organizational psychology, all within the same firm. Right? 7 years, 3 different cities, 3 different departments within the same company. I still was like, this isn't it. So my motivation was lacking that whole time. And I was also complaining. That's another key sign. If people around you are tired of hearing you complain, it's a really, I mean, that's what really did it for me. There was a book called Zen and the Art of Making a Living that my then boyfriend, now husband, had read, and he gave it to me and said, maybe you should check this out. He's very polite and nice. And I'm reading it, and the chapter where it says about complaining, he had written my initials next to it. And that was it. I said, oh my God, this is starting to seep into my personal relationships. And this is all I talked about, is how unhappy I was. I just thought I was the victim of a bad career. Right? Which is how it feels. You feel like, oh, if they would just change, then I could be happy. But when I realized it wasn't everybody else that needed to change, it was me that really needs to figure out, okay, Maggie, so if you're not happy in this, why don't you tell us what's going to make you happy? There are a lot of people who are returning to work, men and women now too. We don't just have moms, we have some dads who've taken time off. And what I tell them, number one, is stop apologizing for taking time off, okay? I'm a mom, and it's a real job with real skills. And whether you're managing, organizing, motivating, influencing without authority, there's a lot of stuff though that goes into being a good parent that also makes you a good employee. And I think it's time for people to stop feeling bad for taking time off and start noticing that there are so much transferable skills that they haven't been off. They've just been in a different role, a different job for that time. And that job is really of service, and especially if their kids are doing well, that parent is the main reason that that's the case. You know, so I tell people too to look for back to work programs, because a lot of employers I love the fact that these folks have a foundation in the business and now they can come back in. There are employers sponsoring back to work programs. There are universities sponsoring back to work programs. So if there is a technology you need to be up on, or you feel out of it in terms of different trends, take one of these programs, because it'll actually reinforce what you know as opposed to focusing on what you feel you don't know. Just network with those colleagues. Just go to lunch once a month. Make sure you're connecting with the corporate world, and then you won't feel so separate. You'll actually realize, hey, I'm still pretty up on things. It hasn't changed. Well, I'll tell you, the thing that differentiates it in my experience, and even in study, because when I did take organizational psychology as a job, I took as classes as well, it's the idea of the leader as servant. So this whole servant leadership aspect, to me, is really ground shifting in the executive space, because I grew up in some situations. I've luckily had some really great bosses, and then the ones I struggled with. And in the situations where I struggled, and I wasn't the only one struggling, the bosses saw me as the servant, right? It was cracking the whip. It was telling me how to do the job. It was, giving me the goal and blaming me if I didn't get there, right? I'm the problem. The obstacles are my fault. When I've worked for servant leaders who saw their role as to serve me in terms of, and all the other folks on the staff, to be successful, it was a completely different environment. I could thrive. I felt like safe and protected. I could take risks that were smart. I felt like they were removing obstacles for me that I couldn't remove. They could have been, different authorities, different issues going on, political things that they needed to maneuver through, and they really paved the way and provided that safety net. And to me, that is a very important leadership quality that, especially today, it really plays out well. Our organizations are flatter. There's less formal responsibility in organizations, so that command and control approach doesn't work as well as this servant leadership idea. I'm career and executive coach Maggie Mistal. You only have one life, so live both.